I want to talk about people who are against vaccinations and are they the same as people as intactivists, people who are against forced circumcision? And I actually have several topics I want to bring up, but I'm going to bring up the vaccinations in this one more thoroughly because I have noticed in particular many intactivists that I've seen comments have been people who say, oh, it's like vaccines. I wouldn't inject poison into my children. I wouldn't cut off, his foreskin, and say it's kind of similar that way. And I don't want to criticize intactivists because I know they're being honest, they're doing the right thing, they're doing everything they can to protect children. But I feel like they will make more of an impact if they stay focused on the topic. And I think that people um, reading these comments or hearing what they're saying will be more likely to take intactivists seriously if they are not given any opportunity to lump intactivists into any group. So I've noticed people who defend circumcision will say things like, "Oh, you're just like anti-vaxxers, or you're just like extreme left liberals, or you're just men's rights activists," or they love to just label intactivists and lump them into a group that they disagree with, and that way, then they can just disregard them completely. So I think that's a probably a pretty common psychological strategy to dismiss something you don't want to face is to just tie that trait or topic in with a subcategory in your mind that you disagree with and then just dismiss it completely. And I want to talk about how people who are against infant circumcision come from all over the place, all different medical backgrounds, religious backgrounds, political affiliations. They're all over the board. So I'll start with the vaccines. So um, I've noticed there are quite a few intactivists who are against vaccines, and they have their reasons. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna make some anti-vaxxers really mad, but we got our children vaccinated. We decided I was scared because when you know that the medical community can do something like this with infant circumcision, it is very hard to trust the medical professionals at all. It is just you feel like you have to be the expert on everything. You feel like they don't know what they're talking about. Look, they can do this wrong. What else are they doing wrong? What else are they doing for money? What else are they doing for whatever reasons they have? What other misinformation have they been fed in medical school? It is very scary to know who to trust, and you feel like you have to become the expert yourself, and all we have is the internet and things like that, and our own reasoning, and it's very hard. But we we held off on all the like the newborn vaccines. We didn't want anything um, uh, any unnecessary things at the time of birth. Um, but my husband did some research on it, and I I asked the doctor about it. I actually found a doctor that I went to a La Leche League meeting and asked, like, what doctor would you recommend that's the most, I guess, crunchy is the word. And they all were like, oh, this is the best doctor. And I asked, is he willing to see patients that refuse vaccinations? And they said, yes, he is. So I went there, and this doctor he's great. He's part of a big group, and they're all totally fine with the fact that we did not get my son circumcised. They are really good about if one of my children gets sick, they will not give antibiotics unless they have evidence that there is a bacterial infection. So if they feel it's a virus, they will not just prescribe antibiotics, which I think is good because I think that antibiotics are overused and that can cause resistant bacteria. Um, and my doctor was fine with me co-sleeping. I know some doctors are really against that, but I believe in co-sleeping when they're babies. But I asked him about vaccines, and he told me about the scientific studies he knows about and the scientific study linking autism to vaccines and how it has been debunked and the evidence he has patients that refuse all vaccinations and still get autism and just he's been a doctor for a long time. He's been seeing these all different situations and he gave me enough evidence to say, okay, I figured there's risks either way. I think that we take for granted the protection we have from very, very scary diseases. I had all my vaccinations growing up, and so I never suffered from things like meningitis and things like that. And I actually know a woman who I believe did not get her son vaccinated, and her son almost died from meningitis and spent a week in the hospital, pumped full of IV antibiotics, and he was very lucky to make it. So um, that was our decision, and so far it's been good. Hey, sweetie, you want to say hi? and and we made the decision with the information we had. I could be wrong if we find out more, but based on the information we have, I decided, okay, we'll go through with this and hope for the best. So that's what we did, and I think it's important that if that people who read or speak with intactivists know that what I worry about is if they think most intactivists are against vaccines, that they will just write intactivists off as completely against anything medical. And that is just not true. Um, the the medical organizations don't recommend routine infant circumcision. They do not. So no doctors, even the doctors that kind of push it, I think the only thing they go by is, well, you want him to look like the dad, right? And I don't think they can't say it's necessary because it's not necessary, and no medical organization says it's necessary. So doctors that are against it, they they're just doing medicine. They're just not chopping off healthy body parts. And so we have to make that distinction that this infant circumcision is like a category of its own. Um, and people who are against it are not against all things medical. My son had to see a urologist and had to get surgery. And his urologist, I could tell, was very much against infant circumcision. But he wasn't against all things medical, and he wasn't against surgery. He had to do surgery on him. And so I just think that's important. Some people who are against circumcision are also against vaccines, and that's fine. But we need to keep the topics separate. I'm surprised that we're lumped into different groups. Like I've seen some people say, "Oh, you're way left." I'm like, what does this have to do with liberalism versus conservatism? I mean, I don't know where that comes from. I'll say for myself, I don't know what I am. Kind of middle of the road. I'm kind of right. I don't know. I think I'm more fiscally conservative. Um, I'm kind of sort of Christian, sort of, but not really. It's hard to explain my religious background. I was raised with no church upbringing. My dad's an atheist, my mom's an agnostic, and I kind of, I don't know. I don't know what I'd say in terms of my religious beliefs, but um, I believe in, science, evolution, all that stuff too. I just don't believe in random mutation. I believe that there's some divine guidance in that. Um, I would not say I'm a liberal, except in parenting. So there's this meme going around like, are you a crunchy parent or mom, or are you a silky mom? And I think that's kind of funny. I'm like, right, I'm some of both. So as I said, I'm into like with babies. I did a lot of baby wearing. Um, I co-sleep. Um, Very much like attachment parenting style. I try to do as non-punitive discipline as possible. It's not always possible for me. I've found with my children. Um, but then in other ways, I don't agree with a lot of. I've done some videos about feminism. I don't consider myself a feminist, and that's kind of more left leaning. So um, the thing is, I've noticed intactivists are all across the board. There are, some are Christian and they know the Bible so well and will give quotes that are clearly against circumcision, and some are atheists and they're very much about the scientific evidence that just does not support infant circumcision, and some are silky moms and some are crunchy moms. My stepmother, I'd say, is a very silky mom. She put her babies in cribs. They all got vaccinated. They all went in strollers. She didn't really baby wear. Yes, yes. But she didn't get her son circumcised because the doctor said it's not necessary. And she was like, oh, good. Yeah, I don't have to put my son through something that is not necessary. Simple as that. And I think it's just so important that we keep that distinction made. So I guess that's all. That's all I had to say for that. Um, Please, if you like my videos, share them, subscribe, join the conversation in the comments,
and like.
And like, yes.